Right, so, have you plucked any needles off this?
No.
Right, so when did you wire it?
Last week, this week.
Right. Because it's a little bit weak.
I know it is.
Aye.
Yes, I realise that.
Yeah, so sometimes though it's not the best idea to wire and style a tree if it's a bit weak.
Yeah.
Right.
It's got two chances, I'm afraid. It's got two chances.
Because you can see obviously
the tops.
The top's a little bit healthier.
Yeah.
When was it last repotted?
2 or 3 years ago, I think.
Right.
It needs repotting, doesn't it?
It does need repotting, yeah, because do you know what variety it is?
No.
Right.
I don't know. It's a small needles.
Well, is it?
I don't know. Maybe not.
Well, this is the thing.
Maybe not.
It might not be a small needle. It might be the needles might be so small because it's trying to tell you something.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? As in, I'm gagging for a repot. There's more growing root to growing medium in there.
Exactly.
So,
it's a plaything.
I know, but it's also a living thing.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh, no.
So, yeah, if you carry on doing a little bit of wire on, but be as gentle as you can. You see, you don't have to wire every single one of these tiny little bits because that's going to stress the tree out. Something rotten, right? So if you do the main things, do this one, but don't do that and that, right? Because we can kind of get what we want without absolutely wiring, you know, absolutely everything.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So if you crack on with your wiring and just make a plan for your trees. So if the needles are small, it's not always oh, look at the size of the needles of that.
No,
that's great.
not.
Sometimes it's a sign the tree's not happy.
Yeah.
Right? So, and why is the tree not happy? You've got to ask yourself the question. And it looks to me like it's desperate for a repot, right? Feeding. What's your feeding regime like on your trees?
Not very good.
That'll be another thing, right? So, up your game with your fertiliser, and on a tree like this, once a week with a liquid fertiliser, right? And I use fish emulsion and seaweed mixed together at the same time, watered on, right? As well as slow release on the top, Biogold, Kaisan's Green Dream,
Green Dream generally.
But
it's obviously not going through that.
But the slow release is not enough. You need to put the drench on.
Yeah, I've been seaweeding, spraying seaweed.
Seaweed isn't a fertiliser though.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it's a stimulant. So you need to give them something with a bit more higher NPK, right, to give it a bit of a kick. The buds in the end are good, seeing that mind. So
some of them.
yeah.
I mean, some aren't.
Do you use the Scout Sean's biostimulants? Because they're really good.
I tend to use what's the names from Probio.
Well, these are different. That's a bacteria inoculant.
Yes.
Right. These are the stimulants that we use. Will be kelp, humic acid, fulvic acid, CalMag,
right,
amino acids, B vitamins, and you mix it all together with your fertiliser that you're going to get water on, right? And it's brilliant stuff, right? You can still give your Dan out as well, and I mean it really gets them all nice and vigorous type of thing. The only thing is, if you're going to get it and you're going to use it, if you're using the seaweed and then you're going to use the kelp, don't use the two.
Right.
Because kelp's the seaweed, right? So you can use one or the other. Yeah. But I would just suggest plan to get this repotted at the next moment. I don't think we're going to do anything major styling wise on it, so it should still be okay for a repot, I would say. And then up your game with your fertiliser, and then your fertiliser on a pine don't stop feeding through the growing season on a pine like this, right? Feed it all season. Doesn't matter.
That's my problem. I don't feed often, you know.
Yeah. So feed it all season. You know, just make a little thing. Say, right, Sunday's feeding day, and do your feeding. Yeah. I know it's a little bit of a, you know, but again, don't fertilise everything exactly the same. If you've got trees that are mature, you'll want to hold back on the fertiliser a little bit. Yeah. So, but yeah, you would just need to kind of up your game a little bit there. But yeah, it's and as I say, get it repotted, but just make a little kind of note in your diary of what you need to do. Keep an eye open for things like pests and diseases because of being
little white bits were on the end, so I had to spray last night.
Insects have been an absolute pain this last year because of the heat that we've had, which is
When would you repot it?
I personally do my pine repotting in the spring. Right. Well, again, don't go off the calendar, go off the tree. Yeah. I know I know people like to go off the calendar. They like to go, right, March, late March, I need to do me pines, or April, I need to do me junipers, stuff like that. But you'll notice each tree in your garden, even of the same species, can be doing something different. Yeah. So if there are, you might not repot all of your pines at the same time, or all your junipers at the same time, because they're not ready yet, you know.
So what do you mean by ready? So how would we know it is time to repot?
The buds on your pines need to be starting to move, right? They need to be moving quite well so that you know that there's root activity going on. The junipers, you need to be looking for the start of the growing tips starting to come out, right? So again, you know, they're moving, they're stored energy, and the roots are starting to move, right? Now, I know that people do repot conifers at, you know, the end of the summer going into autumn. And yeah, that's fine, you can do, there is a push of roots. But the way I look at it, and the way I've always done it, and I've never had any problems whatsoever with repotting pines, yews, junipers in the spring, is because I'm looking at the positive energy of the tree, that it's moving in the spring. We have already had our first frosts up here, right? Now, if you repot, I've found up at our neck of the woods, right, at this time of the year, say for the sake of argument, and then the frosts come on really early.
You've got to protect.
Well, you've got to protect in the spring as well, but the tree is going into negative energy. It's cold going down over into the winter, right? So if the tree can't fix them roots because the temperatures have plummeted, the dark nights are cutting in, the frosts are already hitting, the roots are a bit...
They're going to stand still.
They can't fix themselves, they can't do anything. This is just how I've found it. Other people do it and they get away with it. That's great, do it. You know what I mean? I'm not knocking it at all. I'm just saying what I do in the spring is I'm looking for the bud movement the trees are pushing. So instead of going into negative energy, which they're doing when they're from the autumn into winter, they're going into positive energy from spring, you know, like from out the winter into spring into summer, and the trees are moving. So if any late frosts still come, you're still protecting them. They're not as harsh, they're not as long, and the tree is starting to actively grow, so it can fix itself quicker. That's how I've found it, right? Okay. And I've never had any problems, no sulks, because pines can sulk after a repot. Yeah. They can have a proper sulk if you... But the key is to catch them at just the right time. Yeah. Right? That's, and I've always...
That's experience.
And that's with all mugos, white pines, black pines, except you might do them at a slightly different time. You might leave them a little bit longer, right? Depending on the tree. Black pines I'll probably do the last of the batch. Right? But, yeah. So that's how I do it. And I've never had a problem. So don't want to be taking anything off this tree, right? There's not a massive amount on it in the first place, right?
Okay.
You might want to take, you see how you've got a little bit of a strong area there. You might want to take one or two bits off just to balance it out a little bit. But the key thing is it's so incredibly weak in some areas. You do not want to thin that out to the same level as that. Otherwise, you've just completely you've weakened the tree quite substantially. So we need to balance it quite carefully.
The other option would be to remove some of the weak stuff at the bottom totally.
Well, there's that, but what image is it going to leave you with? So if you carry on doing your little bit of wiring, but as I say, don't do these really fine little bits because you're going to damage them, and then we're going to have enough on here just to gently pull one or two of these little bits around just to maximise the light. Yeah?
Fair enough.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right. Right.
Sorry, Jimmy, just checking to make sure everyone turned up.
Oh, is he? Right. He's just rubbing it in that he's at Heathrow.
No.
Well, you all slaving here. Right, which one do you want to play with first?
I don't know. These are all, obviously, that's the one that you did last time. That I spoke about earlier on. These other ones are all what I would call problem trees.
Problem trees?
A bit of a problem.
What, they've got asbos? Right. Let's have a little kind of look. We'll start off with a larch. Let's have a little look at the larch. Right, so I would personally feel this tree needs to kind of start to come up a bit like that. One of the reasons I feel that is the tree just looks like it's just about to fall on someone, right? If there was a person stood there, right? Because
to me, this isn't a tree that I've designed. I got this tree last year, and it hadn't been looked after for a good few years.
Right.
The whole growth on it last year was basically just a bud on the end of each one of those buds.
Right. So
I put it with decent pots. I've fed it, and that's been pruned twice this year.
Right.
It's really good.
Excellent.
But I'm not happy with the style or the shape or anything else.
Yeah. And I mean, there isn't a bad image in there. It just needs building and kind of rejigging. And as I say, now obviously when you start manipulating root masses around and starting tipping trees and things, this can lead to problems with big roots that point down, so you need a deeper pot to compensate for that, or you tip things over the other way and half the root ball comes out the ground and you've got to rejig. It can all be played with. It's all manageable within reason.
The pot that it was in was about that big.
Oh, that's right. That will not have been doing it any good.
No. So let's say I put it into a bigger pot.
Right.
And it's like it's come away really good this
Right.
year.
I personally think that it needs to come up a little bit like that.
Okay.
Right. So it's going to depend on what's going on under here. I think you might have actually a longer kind of trunk. This is going to be your sashayada branch, your character branch. That will come down like so. That's quite a nice, what I call a counterbalance branch. It's slightly higher on that side. And then you've got a back branch starting to form there, right? Obviously, this is going to end up being your apex. You need to let stuff grow to fill out, especially in the apex, which for a larch, with them being apical dominant, is quite good because that's going to fill out pretty quickly, right? Because this branch here, you're going to grow out to form a foliage part there. You need to let that one grow to form another foliage part here, right? And then you've got some buds round the front here that you also need to let come out, right? So that you're going to start to form a nice apex. And with a larch, it can happen pretty quick, right? So I think today what we need to do with this is, it's not ideal putting wire on larch when they've got the needles on, but it's going to lose its needles fairly soon. I'm not suggesting we'll try to put any wire on these with the needles on, but you could put some on these thicker branches and these secondary and some of the tertiary branches as well, just so we can start to move the tree in the right direction.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't planning on doing any white on here because I was going to wait for it to lose the needles.
Yeah. I mean, you can do that, but also what I would tend to do is, or what I do with larch, I'll style them, even with all of these extensions, again, within reason. I mean, if it's right out here, yeah, I'll cut them back, but I set them into position, and then when I've got everything into position, I'll then start to prune back to start to form the foliage pad and start to form the layering, because then I can see where all the buds are, because sometimes you can get a bit carried away and there's no buds. Maybe there's a few at the end here and there's no buds further back here, and you get chopped and there's no buds there. And when they drop their needles, that's you're left with a dead twig, right? Usually though, there is buds at the base here, but sometimes there isn't. So that's a thing you can get on with today, is you can put some wire on this. If you're going to do that, remember some of the wiring golden rules. 1 piece of wire, 2 branches, but that doesn't mean you go down this branch around the trunk and just wrap it a couple of turns around there. That's not what I mean. I mean, it links all of that one and all of that one, right? Now what you would do also is you go past a junction, right, or a fork anchor it off, so you can join that one with another one, 1 piece of wire, 2 branches, and you use an aluminium wire, and it's half the thickness of the branch you want to bend, right? Because don't stress the tree out by putting wire on that's not fit for purpose, that you've got to take off and do it again because it's not going to do the job, right? It's paramount. Try to stress it out as little as possible. But all you need to kind of do on here is just these kind of branches here and them ones. Don't go into really fine stuff like this, yeah? And we can just drop them into position, right?
So this one here, for the last 2 years, is lost virtually no needles at all. And now suddenly this year it's decided to drop its old needles, so it looks pretty shabby at the minute.
Yeah, it just wants a bit of a tidy up, you know. I mean, just clean them off. It's pretty normal. The new foliage on the end, the buds in the end look pretty good. But remember, you do need to prune things back. You've still got a little bit of wire left on there.
Yeah, I noticed that, yeah.
So that needs
still got some wire to take off.
So yeah, so that's your task for this. Just make sure that you balance the growth. It's so incredibly important with your trees, balancing that growth. Don't just let it grow willy-nilly.
Yeah.
You need to keep looking at the tree and go, where's it getting heaviest? Where's the tree putting all its energy?
Yeah, it's at the top.
And is it at the expense of somewhere else?
Yeah.
And if you don't want that branch, fair enough. But if you do, it's an integral part of the tree's design. You need to make sure that the tree doesn't start to bypass it and get rid of it.
Because that's quite
an equal amount of foliage mass all over the tree.
Right. Okay.
Right. But first of all, get all of this yellow stuff off.
Yeah.
Get it looking nice and neat. But I mean, there is a good tree in that. Do you know what I mean? But it just needs a... So you can see in here, you've got a very, very strong bit on the end, and you've got some weaker things a little bit further back, but you don't want to lose some of the weaker stuff, right? So, but you've also got this slot here and this slot here, so you think, right, shall we just pluck needles around here, or shall we prune that back there, or shall we be even harder and prune that back there? And it's all going to decide on the balance and health of the tree overall, right?
Yeah.
Because this branch here, it's not the strongest, right? But it's definitely quite strong in the end there. So I would suggest, for the minute, I would take back some of it. And what I'm doing, I'm looking at the buds in the end. There's 2 good buds in the end there. There's a one in there. There's a one in there, good one in there. There's a little one in there. So I would be tempted to take out the one. So we're not going to knock it back too much because it's not the strongest branch on the tree. So that everything's equal. And just take off some of them old slightly yellower needles. Right, so it's not just the ones that are easily knocked off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's the longer ones.
So some of them ones.
Do you want all of those off as well, or I wasn't sure whether to remove all of them.
You see, I would be tempted to just to leave that like that. Right. Just make sure that your foliage mass, the amount of foliage that you're leaving on each part of the tree, is the same.
Okay.
Unless it's an extremely strong area and an extremely weak area, and in which case don't take anything off the weak area, but don't take the strong area back to the same amount of needles as what that very weak area is, otherwise you've really weakened the tree. Try and get it like in the middle. Yeah. Balancing a tree by doing this doesn't just take one season, it can take a few years to get it back. So you've got to start somewhere. Getting the buds and the density of needles, the strength overall, the whole tree equal.
So when cleaned this up and pruned back some parts, when is the best time to wire it?
The best time I find to wire pines, just in general, is literally now, right the way up until about end of March maybe. Right. Generally, if the buds are really starting to swell and move, just be careful, you don't want to knock them off. But the needles from the growing season have matured, they're not easily knocked off, because in June, July sort of time, when the needles are just peeling away from the candle, they're so easily knocked off and you can do just massive amounts of damage to the tree. So once them needles, the new needles of that growing season have matured and are not easily knocked off, the tree's on about making buds for next year, that's really the time to start getting in and do wiring and styling on your pines. So if you continue to thin out in between these areas here, right, so it's not just, as I say, the old needles you need to get in. Now ordinarily though, I have to say, I would cut needles on a white pine, right? So,
but right to near the...
Pretty close.
Yeah.
I would do the same on a Mugo, but I would pluck on a black and a Scotty. It's just because of where the buds come from. And I find with white pines particularly, I don't know why it is, but if you pull the needles, sometimes they seem to be more prone to the bark coming off when you pull the needles, and then that area the little twig can dry up and drop off. So there's still a few little bits of wire on this to come off.
Yeah,
well.
that I'm still doing, that's what I'm saying.
Are you still doing that, are
yeah.
You? Right. So if you continue doing that, continue taking the wire off, it's all good work that needs to be done. And then a little bit of thinning of some of the needles on it so that it's evenly balanced. The tree, there's no mega weak areas on it. There's one or two, weak-ish areas, but nothing too horrendous. So if you just just start balancing it out, and it'll be grand.
Thank you.
I can remember working in your greenhouse, and the amount of trees you've got
Shout at us.
It's me when I'm deaf.
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 Why you done this one?
Way, man.
When I've done editing before and I've had to make sure there's no swearing at all on it.
There was going to be quite a few with me in it, like.
Well, I have to take you. We're not allowed to have any swearing on YouTube. So it's.
You're not
no,
one.
No.
Oh, well, that's. How have I managed to get even on YouTube? I think it just all adds to the ensemble, doesn't it?
It's what?
It all adds to the ensemble.
I think so. Yeah, the ambience.
Kids.
I think that's a bit full.
Let's have a gander. Yeah, that's. When I first came over, the first thing I kind of looked at was mainly that little snitchy bit there. Right.
Yeah. Excellent.
I think. What's happened to Brian today then?
No idea. He couldn't find his way to Brit.
You missed them.